supporting your local news, Airpark Canterbury, Logistics Drive and Parking Island off Rustley Road.
And Christchurch City Councillor Sara Templeton joins me now. Hello to you, nice to see you.
Kia ora, Chris, how are you doing?
Very well, thanks. Congratulations on your announcement. What was the defining moment for you when you decided, I need to stand for Mayor of Christchurch?
I guess I've been asked by people for a number of years now. So I've been getting a lot of governance experience, mixed that with the community experience. So I started out on a residents association, community board, council, and I've had a lot of people asking me if I'd step up to the next role. So there's been a couple of things this term where there's been decisions and proposals that are really short term, and I'm a big fan of long-term thinking. And so I decided it was time to step up and take that mix of community experience and governance experience and lead a council that focuses on the future and sustainability and resilience.
What's the first thing that comes to mind when you talk about some of the short-term thinking that made you think this is just not right?
There's a few things. One of them is around transport. So we often want to do the transport that we know already, that we're really used to, but that's short-term thinking because cities change over time. We know our environment's changing over time, and we need to help our transport system change over time too. So that's a really big part of our city's emissions, so 54%, and we need to help that shift. And then there's other sort of short-term sugar hit stuff like Commonwealth Games.
Oh, the Commonwealth Games trend that never lasted that long. Oh, well.
It's a really expensive thing to host. It might give your economy a short-term sugar hit, but actually the costs of it are really long-term disbenefits or, have a really detrimental effect over a long period of time.
Have you always wanted to be Mayor of Christchurch?
No. Although, having said that, when I have said to people that I'm standing, they're not surprised. So I guess that while it hasn't been an ambition, I always have just wanted to serve my community in the best way that I can. And I've done a lot of work in the Heathcote ward over the last 8 years. In fact, 3 years before then, same sort of space as well on community board. And I think that I've done a good job there, and I want to serve the wider city in the next role.
What has been the reaction from your friends and your family?
They're hugely supportive. And again, none of them are surprised. I think they've seen me growing in my personal skills and my governance skills over a period of time, and just not surprised, really supportive.
You've announced your intentions a whopping year out from the election. Why so early?
A year out, I think, is a really nice time. I mean, there's two key reasons. The first is that I am going to need to fundraise. So I don't have personal wealth. I don't come from money. I don't have a lot of wealthy friends to shoulder tap. And so I'm going to have to do good old-fashioned, fundraising, quiz nights, those kind of things to help, which is great. And the other thing is that I've made up my mind, and it just seemed a bit disingenuous to go, oh, yes, I'm still thinking about it, when actually I was already planning. And I don't know if people remember 3 years ago, but actually 3 years ago, our current mayor made an announcement well over a year out. So I'm actually months later than he was.
How will you bring councillors together around the table?
I think the key thing is what we don't want is a sort of A team, B team. So I really value the residents' input into who represents them around the council table. And I think that having a variety of opinions, different backgrounds, different experience levels is actually really important for robust debate. So I don't want to set anyone's opinions aside around the council table. It's not just about me getting a like-minded majority, if you like, which would then discount a number of councillors having a say in representing their communities effectively. It's about having really good conversations with all councillors about what they want to achieve and what we can do together for the city.
You'll know that those resident surveys for council are never glowing, but part of me thinks when you allow people to do anonymous surveys, it's always that way, to be fair. But how will you win over the trust of ratepayers? Because some could argue that it's not very high, that trust thing.
Yeah, it's not very high, and it's not very high for institutions, not just nationally, but globally as well. And I think one of the things is that people don't feel like they can influence council's decision making. So what I'd like to do is have much more sort of deeper community engagement on things. So you'll look at our adaptation program currently, where we're working with community members and technical experts together to put together a proposal. So I'd like to hold more forums where community members, a representative group, sort of really diverse, get together with council staff to look at some of the big issues and help inform that planning. And then they can get together, or a different group can get together and look at a proposal and actually spend time looking at it, discussing it, and then get council. And doing that on top of our regular consultation so that the wider community can see that as well.
You voted against increasing the seat capacity for the stadium, along with, I think, the likes of Melanie Coker and Celeste Donovan, I think. They wanted to put another 50 million into that, and I think the cost player, as we were discussing earlier, was 150 million, taking the project to 70 million. Now, of course, you have ratepayers, for better or worse, moaning about their rates. What do you say to that? Do you feel slightly vindicated by your decision to vote against the increased capacity?
I guess so. I don't tend to be one to go back and relitigate stuff. The stadium is the stadium, and my focus since then has been on making it as sustainable as it can be. But the experts came to us at the time with the business case and everything and said, actually, the right size for Ōtautahi Christchurch for a stadium is 25,000 permanent seats, not 30, because you'd get a better atmosphere more often. So it's more likely to be full. We know what it's like when you've got a half empty or only quarter full stadium. You don't get the good atmosphere. So a slightly smaller one gives you better atmosphere. And then the cost blowout, 150 million. It's just not justifiable when we have so many other things that are priorities. I think residents would be surprised to know that we have 27% of the water that we bring out of the wells and then we chlorinate. 27% of that goes missing through the system. We've got leaks everywhere. And we haven't put enough money on our budgets to renew our pipes and to get those leaks fixed. And that would be a much higher priority for that 150 for me.
Two final questions I was thinking of. First of all, what leadership skills do you admire from Phil Major that you would like to not emulate, but just admire?
Phil's a really friendly, genuine guy, and he's really generous with his time and his conversations with people. And I think that that's something that doesn't come naturally to me. I'm an introvert at heart, and so I've been really focusing on learning those skills because I think you can learn them, and that's something I'd like to focus on.
Nicely said. And finally, and I'll send you the invoice later, give us your best pitch. If people are watching this right now, why should they vote for you for Mayor of Christchurch, Sarah?
So I've come from the community. I was a Residents Association chair, community board chair, councillor, and I know the community space, but I've also got 8 years of governance experience on City Council, leading committees, and I've got the climate change portfolio. I've got 5 years on the board with our council-owned companies, which means I've got the really good business governance experience too. I'm a long-term and strategic thinker, and we've got some really big challenges ahead. And I know that I can lead a city council where we plan for our future to make sure that our communities and our environment are sustainable and resilient for the long term.
Sara Templeton, it's really nice to speak with you. I wish you well. Congratulations on putting your hand up. As many of your colleagues have said, it's not an easy thing to do. And we'll speak again soon. Have a great day.
Thanks, Chris.